What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to your weekly redraft Fantasy Inferno on the Roto Heat YouTube channel, obviously. With me, as always, we got Shane Barrett, the guy. What's happening, Shane? How you doing?
What's up, man? I am good. Wired and tired, I guess. We'll rock and roll, though.
One of
I'm
those
always happy to chat football, though.
one of those weeks. So yeah,
Yeah,
let's
for
get
sure.
into it. We got a very special guest this week. Super happy to have you on the show, Sam. I forgot to ask you how to say your last name in the pre-show. There is how do you say your last name, Sam?
It's Choudhury.
Choudhury. Okay, I was gonna say Choudhury,
Yep.
so close. But
Yeah.
so yeah, super happy to have you on. Thanks for coming on the show. Tell the people who you are, where you're from, and where they can find your stuff.
Yeah, like Cody said, I'm Sam. I work at FTN. You can find all my content at FTN. I do the fantasy side, daily fantasy, and then my Twitter's down below. It's SC_FFB.
Quality Twitter follow. I can vouch for that. We've been connected, chatting a little bit here and there on Twitter for the past, I don't know, couple of years, something like that. So yeah, happy to have you on the show. Appreciate you coming on. Today we're going to be talking about not necessarily, buy, hold, sell like the title says, but what do we do about these players? There's a bunch of guys that are underachieving, a lot of quarterbacks, obviously some wide receivers and things like that. What are we to do with some of these guys? Do we sell them? Do we hold? Do we trade? Do we cut them? So we're going to get into that. It's obviously super important with bye weeks, starting this week is when things get important where you have to make those tough decisions and you have to have an honest, conversation with yourself about your roster and how it looks and potentially make some tough decisions. So let's jump right into it. We don't want to waste too much time because I'm sure we'll have a ton of questions to answer at the end of the show. Stick around to the end of the show to have your questions answered by the three of us. Let's start out at the quarterback position. Let's go with Matt Stafford first before the other guy. Go ahead, Shane. What do you think about Matt Stafford? What are you doing? What are you thinking about the Rams quarterback?
Man, I actually have him in a league, and it's a 1 QB league, and I legitimately don't know what to do. It's my work league, so I got a little lucky, and somebody dropped Dak Prescott, so I went and picked him up. So I'm honestly holding on to him in that league until Dak comes back. If he's your only option at quarterback, I would not fault you if you were looking for a streaming option and kind of playing matchups with those streaming options in Stafford because he's just not looked good. Now, I think what you do have to look forward to is the rest of the team getting healthy. So, like Van Jefferson's hurt. Obviously, Cam Akers had the Achilles, came back from it probably too early, if you ask me. And then Kyron Williams is on IR. There's just a couple of pieces missing here or there, and this offensive line will hopefully figure it out at some point. Who knows? That I think long term for the rest of the season, you'll be okay. But there may be some games where you're like, what is going on? And you probably should sit them.
Yeah, like you said, that offensive line should be getting healthy as well. I'm going to mention that later on in the show, but it should be getting more and more healthy as the season goes on. And what was the other thing I was going to say there? Oh yeah, Kyron Williams. You've been pounding the table for Kyron Williams. I can't wait till you get disappointed by him. But we'll talk about that at a later date. Sam, what are you thinking about Matt Stafford? What are you doing with him?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, like what Shane said, you're pretty much better off just, you can view Stafford as a streaming option, but you probably feel a lot more comfortable with the guys on the waiver. Looking through, I mean, leagues still have Geno Smith on the waiver. I mean, you can pick up Geno Smith and he could be your starter for the rest of the season. So if you have Stafford on your team, I mean, that's an easy 1-for-1 swap and, ride out Geno Smith till you can, and then if he doesn't work out, maybe Stafford's on the waiver wire. You can pick him up. But yeah, I mean, he shouldn't be viewed as anything more than a streamable quarterback. And even if that, I think this is sort of a big test. I mean, they have had some tough matchups. Dallas's defensive line was all over him last week, and their line hasn't been able to hold up. But yeah, I don't think he's really any different than the waiver guys. I mean, Jared Goff, he's on bye right now, but I mean, if you want to play Stafford this week and you want to go back to Goff when he gets back, I'm perfectly okay with that. But I don't think you should hold on to any pre-draft priors with Stafford. I mean, feel free to cut him loose. So.
Yeah, I agree. It just is what it is at this point with Matt Stafford. He led the league in interceptions last year. He's leading the league in interceptions so far this year. The ratio is 5 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Even with that offensive line getting more and more healthy, and hopefully things get figured out probably after the bye. They have, the train wreck of the Carolina Panthers this week in Carolina. So, that bodes well for them, I suppose. But realistically, yeah, I think it is what it is. And it's time to, either cut bait. I don't think anyone's going to buy him. So there's no point in saying, sell Matt Stafford. So it's either cut him or, start him in a pinch if you have to, bi-week replacement, like you said, Sam. So yeah, I think he's a streaming option at best. And there's probably some guys on the waiver wire that you might feel more comfortable about starting. If Geno Smith is on your waiver wire right now, he's a top 10 in a lot of formats. In formats I was looking at, he's a top 10 quarterback. So, it is what it is. Who cares what the guy's name is as long as he's putting up points for you? So there you go. We'll leave Matt Stafford there and move on to quarterback number 2, Russell Wilson. It's, no one, you can't have a show like this and not talk about Russell Wilson. Realistically, he's pretty much on everybody's tongue every week. So let's talk about him. Again, like I said, Geno Smith, Jared Goff, and Carson Wentz are all top 10 quarterbacks this year. And this goes for Matt Stafford as well. If you don't have Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, and Lamar Jackson, it doesn't matter beyond that. It really doesn't matter this year.
Herbert.
Not even Herbert. I mean, yeah, you could. Hopefully by the end of the year, you should be able to throw Herbert in that conversation. But right this second, we're almost a third of the way through the season.
No,
and those are the only 4 guys that really matter at quarterback right now. Again, yes, probably Herbert. You're certainly not trading away Herbert, but that's just the reality as it sits right now. He had the PRP injection in his throwing shoulder, and then Garrett Bowles, the starting left tackle, is out for the season. That whole team's kind of getting bit by the injury bug right now. So, Javonte Williams, Josie Jewell just got hurt, Ronald Darby, that whole team. And it's a slippery slope once injuries started, in my opinion. You see it a lot. You see it with the Chargers almost every season. And you see it a lot when a guy goes down and another guy goes down. It just seems like there's something in the water. And right now that looks like there's something in the water in Denver. And yeah, I think it's just like Matt Stafford. I don't think you can really trust Russell Wilson at this point. But Sam, what are you thinking about Russell Wilson? Are you holding on to him? Do you have him in a like 1 tier break above Matt Stafford at this point, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, his scoring has been great, but I guess you sort of have to give him the edge with Matthew Stafford, just because, I mean, he has been somewhat viable, but I mean, compared to pre-draft expectations, it's not what you thought before. It sucks what happened with the shoulder. I think it is a real thing, but I mean, he looked pretty good in that Raiders game. He was actually, Nathaniel Hackett talked about him rushing and moving around the pocket more. And you saw that in the Raiders game. I think he had 29 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown, threw for 2 touchdown passes. So, I mean, it kind of looked optimistic for him in that game. And then I think, I mean, he came down awkwardly. If you guys saw the game, you saw he was sort of wincing at his shoulder. And I guess that's sort of what hindered him in the next game. So, I mean, I would say he's probably another tier with Stafford, and you probably, I mean, I would still make the swap to Geno Smith 1 for 1 if he is on your waiver wire. But I mean, if you have Wilson, you might just have to ride it out and just lower your expectations for him for the rest of the season. But I mean, that's assuming that, he makes a full recovery from the shoulder. But, he's just another one of those middling quarterbacks where you just got to ride it out or, I guess sell low. I don't know, but yeah, I'm not real optimistic about, I mean, the whole Broncos team, let alone Russell Wilson right now. So
yeah, I mean, I was personally pretty low, not particularly on Russell Wilson. I've always been high on Russell Wilson, but I was kind of low on the wide receivers in Denver. So I was pretty off the Broncos in general in best ball. Sam, we play a lot of best ball together. We've had a few drafts together, and I was super, super low on the Denver wide receivers at their cost. They were like 37 right around 37 ADP each. And to me, that was just way too high, which in best ball leads to, if you're not getting the top wide receiver, you're probably not drafting the quarterback to go along with it. So I just didn't have a lot of exposure to Russell Wilson, and it worked out for me. Not exactly like I planned on this happening or saw it happening, but I think the coaching staff is very much part of the blame here with this. It's a very, very, very novice, coaching staff, not a lot of experience in that room. I think they, a lot of times you see a coach bring in a vet where, Wade Phillips came in with, was it Staley? I think stuff like that you see all the time where, it's a rookie head coach, and he'll bring in a very, established offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, a guy that's been a head coach in the NFL previously, that sort of a thing. And I'm going to touch on this again later in the show, but people always ask about, and Shane, sorry, I'm going on a tangent. I'll get to you in a second, but
all right.
people always ask like, why does the NFL just keep recycling coaches? Why are they hiring this guy? He had a shot and he failed. He didn't work out there. So why is he? It's pretty clear that there's only there's a finite amount of NFL caliber coaches out there. And we see that with college coaches coming in, Matt Rule,
Thank
Urban
you.
Meyer, most recently, like not having success. And it's just pretty obvious that it's a different game. You can't just get a college guy to come in and he's going to change the world and win at the caliber, at the consistency that he did in college. It's not the same. Grown men versus college kids are not the same. It's literally apples and oranges. So that's another something I'm going to touch on later in the show as well. But I think that was a huge miss by Nathaniel Hackett when he was hiring out his staff. He didn't hire anyone with really any experience. And I think we're, with that hiring he did for the guy to watch the clock for him, we're clearly seeing that, come to fruition here. So Shane, sorry, go ahead. What do you think about Russell Wilson?
No, you're good. I was raising my hand like a little boy in school to bring up Matt Rule, talking about how there's only a handful of NFL coaches that can actually get the job done, and that's why they keep recycling, because if you bring in new blood, specifically from the college level, you're going to see it fail miserably. The greatest college coach of all time didn't even succeed in the NFL, and Nick Saban. So I think that right there shows you the difference between the two. The other thing that I wanted to mention is I am actually fine with Russell Wilson rest of season. He's got 11 days between his last game and his next game, which is Monday night against the Chargers. So that should give him time to heal. And then they've actually got a really easy strength of schedule for the rest of the season when it comes to fantasy production. So I am holding on to Russell Wilson and thinking that the ship will right itself and turn around.
Yeah, I mean, like Sam said too, you might have to just ride it out, right?
Yeah.
You might have drafted him too high that you can't exactly stomach dropping him, and if you, especially if you're in a league where Geno Smith, Jared Goff, guys like that have been plucked off the waiver wire and you're just kind of late to the dance. So can you hear Sam, or what's going on? You all right down there, Sam? Can you hear?
So yeah, I don't know why my mic just cut out. Sorry, what was that?
I was just saying, if you're late to the dance with getting guys like Geno Smith and Jared Goff, and you drafted Russell Wilson in the 5th, 6th round potentially, you're a big believer in him, then you kind of might have to just
Let
eat
Russ
the doo-doo and take it.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. I mean, I think he's going to be like you. I mean, Geno Smith, that's an easy swap. But I mean, if he's not there, he's a lot better than the other guys left on the waiver, especially in these leagues when guys are holding 2 quarterbacks too. You might not even have a choice. But on that note, I mean, can we get Denver off of the prime time? Like, how many primetime games are we going to see with these Broncos?
I think they have 2.
When do they start flexing the schedule?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know,
because they don't change anything up until I think it's like week 6 or 7, 8, something like that, and then they'll start flexing out the doo-doo games. So unless it's Thursday, everybody plays once on Thursday.
Yeah,
but
Denver already did. So
I mean, they got theirs. But
I hope we're done. I'll say that. I'll agree with that for sure. I'm sick of watching that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's move to the running back position. We'll start it off with Ezekiel Elliott, a guy that I've always pounded the table for, a guy that I like. But Sam, what are you thinking about Zeke? What are you doing? Are you buying, holding? You selling them? What are you doing?
I mean, I think at this point, all you can really do is hold. I personally wasn't really into Zeke, but I mean, you were paying what, a third, fourth round draft pick for him, and it's encouraging. He out touches Pollard, more than double every game. But I mean, it's clear as day on the field who the better player is. But Dallas just doesn't care, and I mean, I guess they shouldn't. They're 4-0 with Cooper Rush, and we can talk about how much better Pollard looks, how much more explosive he is. I mean, he had 8 carries compared to Zeke's, I think it was 22 last game, and had more yards than him. But, whatever they're doing, it's working. And Zeke's not really being used in the passing game. And I think that is going to improve when Dak gets back. But I think, I mean, no one's going to give you anything for Zeke, right? So, I mean, I have teams that are struggling to find any running back production. So, I'd be fine rolling out Zeke. You sort of know what you're getting from him. He had a tough matchup against the Rams, but, I think he's fine. I mean, as long as you don't view him, as a top 20 running back, just understand that, he gives you somewhat of a floor. Maybe the ceiling's capped, but I think he will bounce back when Dak gets back, at least in the scoring department, too, and hopefully more in the receiving game. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think you should trade him. He's probably at his floor right now, but just ride it out. And I think his fantasy production will improve with Dak. So
Shane, what do you think about Zeke?
That is exactly what I wanted to say, Sam, and I'll back you up with some numbers. I won't go too far into the weeds on this because there's not a comparable sample size, but yards per carry with Dak Prescott for Zeke Elliott are 4.5, without are 3.8. He has 55 rushing touchdowns. Obviously, that comes from a volume standpoint, but only 2 without Dak in 15 games, and only 1 reception touchdown without Dak in those 15 games. His yards per game in the receiving game dropped from 26.3 to 14.5, and his targets per game without Dak are only about 2.4. So I think at a very minimum, with Dak coming back, his floor will rise. And he's always, at least for the last couple of years, he's always kind of been a floor player to me anyway, but his floor is relatively high. So hopefully you drafted well then to complement that, because once you get Zeke back where Zeke should be, then your team should be fine. So I'm holding, maybe buying if you can, but definitely holding.
Yeah, I'm holding and buying low potentially. I think you're right with that floor. He's always been a bit of a floor play. You should hope to get around 10 points. And like Sam was saying, I said, I think I mentioned this last week, points at a bit of a premium at the running backs position right this second. It's tough to find, it's honestly tough to find a consistent 10 points a week. If you're in deeper leagues, if you're in a deep, good 12-man league or a 14, 16-man league, then yeah, it's tough to find that consistency. I personally think that they have a great thing going with their backfield, the Thunder and Lightning kind of, backfield that they have, with Zeke being the Thunder. Obviously, Pollard's the Lightning with that 8 carries, 86 yards and a touchdown. So, and the passing game work that he gets, I'm just banking on more rushing touchdowns coming Zeke's way. That's really what's holding him back right now, from being, potentially probably a top 20 running back and being a consistent RB2, is he's just got to chip in a couple more touchdowns. And I think that'll come, at least I hope that'll come. That's what I'm holding for. And that's what I'm potentially buying a little low on. I think that offensive line is going to stabilize a little bit. Tyler Smith has been improving and he will continue to improve as the season goes on. If Jason Peters can stabilize the left guard spot there, and if Zach Martin stays healthy, they can, he should, once Dak comes back, like I said, he should be able to chip in more rushing touchdowns and bring up that floor a little bit, as well as, the ceiling. I think it kind of, those would go hand in hand, obviously, with more scoring. So we'll see what happens. It's still Zeke, and he's still getting over 17 touches a game. So you got to kind of either ride it out, hold, or buy, in my opinion. Let's move to another Ram, Cam Akers. Shane, what are you thinking about Cam Akers? What are you doing with him?
I think this kind of goes back to what I said about Stafford. They've got an easy rest of the season. I think that offensive line will continue to get healthy, like we talked about, but I also think he will get healthier. And ultimately, McVay does, despite what I think, McVay will like to use a lead back. And if Akers is healthy, I think he will be that option, unless I'm right on Kyron Williams and he comes and proves people wrong. Had to throw that in there. But yeah, I'm holding. There's no way I'm selling on him right now. Hell, he might be available on waivers for you. I've seen him dropped in a couple leagues, so you may be able to go pick him up. But
wow, that would be I'd be picking him up. Sam,
yeah,
Sam, what are you doing with Cam Akers?
Man, I don't even know really what to do with Cam Akers. Like it's kind of hard to figure out because, like Shane said, McVay looks like he wants to make Cam Akers his lead back. He wants him to be this workhorse that he drafted, but he's just not doing anything. The problem that I'm having is if Darrell Henderson, if he were to go down and Akers was the only guy in the backfield, what can really improve for him? He's getting the volume. He's averaging 3 yards a carry. The Rams offense, first off, isn't good, so he's not gonna get touchdowns. So I don't even know what to call him because he is a lead back, but he sort of feels like a handcuff because he's still splitting that backfield, but there's just really no ceiling to him. And I have some pretty deep leagues, so I wouldn't say you drop Akers, but I guess what I'm struggling to figure out is how does it get better for Akers? You can talk yourself into maybe he's not healthy, maybe he'll look better, after their bye when the team gets together, but I can't confidently say that. And Henderson, he still is the pass catching back too, so even the last game, Henderson didn't get a single carry, but he's still the guy they use in the receiving game. Akers had one target, didn't have anything in the box score, but yeah, if you're relying on Akers, you should be pretty concerned because I really don't know how it's gonna get better for him. So
yeah. Look, Sam,
Yeah.
I agree with you. I've never been an Akers guy. I was just trying to do something different and say something nice about him, but I agree with you. I don't see how this gets better. And
I got to be the guy then. I like Cam Akers. I'm gonna be the guy. I'm gonna be the guy left holding a bag of magic beans. I'm telling you. I know it. I know it. Like
and then you
I
open it and
might
you realize they're pinto beans.
I might believe in him kind of to a fault. I just think that I'm not going to be the guy that sells low on Cam Akers at this point. You probably drafted him third, fourth round. I'm not just, and what can you get for him? So I'm
Yeah.
certainly holding. And if someone, is wanting to potentially drop him or trade him for nothing, a bag of magic beans, I'll make that trade. I'll take Cam Akers and take a shot on, the offensive line getting healthy and the team getting right after their bye. They play, like I said, they play the Carolina Panthers that are a hot mess right now, and then they have their bye. So the Carolina Panthers run D is certainly, nothing to write home about. So he should have a reason. If he can get that 12 carry, 61-yard touchdown game back that he had a couple weeks ago, if he can do that, head into the bye, Brian Allen comes back, David Andrews comes back to shore up the interior of that line because Joe Noteboom and Rob Havenstein have been pretty good as tackles for that team. So they can shore up the interior of that line and get their center back. That's been a big loss for them. That's the narrative that's what I'm selling myself. And hopefully, maybe I've convinced you guys to at least think he could be something. And again, I'm probably going to be the guy that's just left holding Cam Akers because we've talked about this before, Shane. Realistically, Cam Akers has never done it. Like he's never done it. We haven't seen it. This is his third year, and that's just the reality. Like that's just the reality. Yeah, splash plays, big games, whatever, big things, but we haven't seen consistency from him. Yep. And this is 3 seasons. So, at some point, you got to call it what it is. And I don't know. I'm just not ready to do that yet. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with Cam Akers. But I would be holding. And if someone wants to basically give him away, I'll take him off your hands in a kind of buy or trade setting. Let's move to the Washington backfield. We're talking about Antonio Gibson. I'm going to be selling Antonio Gibson. I've never liked Gibson as a running back. I've never been high on him, never liked him. Obviously, Brian Robinson just came back last week, out carried him 9-3. McKissick is still the preferred option in the passing game for that team. And the regime drafted Brian Robinson and very, very purposefully brought back JD McKissick. They would not let him go to Buffalo. So those two running backs clearly have the eye and the love of the coaching staff here. And the odd man out is Antonio Gibson. He was returning kicks in the preseason. Like, that's ridiculous. When do you ever see that from a guy who's an NFL running back, a starting NFL running back? That just doesn't happen unless they're a rookie and they haven't quite made it yet. The offensive line that's pretty suspect in Washington, it needs a runner that falls forward and goes downhill, a downhill runner that falls forward. And that's not Antonio Gibson. That's Brian Robinson. And I think we're going to see, that kind of come to fruition this week against Chicago tomorrow night. I think Brian Robinson has 50-plus yards and a touchdown. And I think that people are going to very quickly forget about Antonio Gibson. So your window to trade is about 24 hours, a little less.
Pretty much.
So
pretty much.
I think that window's closed, man.
It might be, right? Like 24 hours or less to throw him into a trade, right? So go ahead, Sam. What do you think about Antonio Gibson?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like when you're doing season-long rankings, you're probably ranking him third, in that backfield. So, he's third in his own backfield because you got JD McKissick especially in PPR formats, he gives you that safe pass-catching floor. For some reason, this coaching staff won't use a converted wide receiver to running back in the pass game, at all. And all preseason long, I mean, we knew this was they drafted Brian Robinson to be the guy. And it's not that they just took away the job from Gibson. In the preseason, he did start the game. He had the same issues as last season. He fumbled, and he's not even efficient on yards per carry at this point this season. So they want him to be a two-down runner, but he's not doing that. They've wanted Brian Robinson to be the guy. And the first game he gets back from being shot, he already out-touches Gibson. So, from here on out, you start to rank him as the third guy in the backfield. And it's only going to get worse throughout the season. He's probably going to have a bigger role in special teams. And even then, you can sort of prioritize him as a handcuff. But he really needs two guys to get injured to really be a workhorse running back. And it's hard to see that happening. And again, I mean, the Commanders aren't a good offense to begin with. So, yeah, I mean, if you can sell him, go ahead. But other than that, he's just a handcuff. And three-man backfield. So
he's a throw-in guy, I think, at this point. And like you saying, he didn't. I said this a few weeks ago too, Shane. Like, he didn't lose the job to Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson won the job from him.
Yeah,
like that's what happened. He came in and took the guy's job straight up. That's what happened. So yeah, I think that it's going to be a tough road to see Antonio Gibson get touches again at the NFL level. So we'll see how that all shakes out. I'm a huge Brian Robinson believer and truther, so that might hurt Gibson's value for me a little bit. But Shane, what do you think about Gibson? I know we agree on this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing more to add other than if you want to take a slightly positive light to it, his receptions per game have gone up by 0.5. From 2.7 for his career to 3.2. His yards per carry has dropped by a yard. His attempts per game have dropped by 2. I would sell this guy. I would have already sold him if you could have. I did in the offseason for dynasty purposes, but for redraft, like, I would have already sold him.
So, yeah, McKissick is has a better yards per carry than Gibson right now, which is ridiculous a little bit. But let's move on. We got a few wide receivers. So let's try to blow through those guys relatively quickly. DJ Moore, what are we doing? Sam, what are you doing, DJ Moore?
I'm the wrong guy to ask about DJ Moore. I've been so big on DJ Moore ever since he's been in the league. And this is the first.
This is time. A redraft show. This is a redraft show, so you can be honest for one season. For one season.
Yeah, I mean, well, redraft show. All my redraft leagues got DJ Moore. What are you talking about? But I mean, I felt great smashing that button in the third round every time. But that offense is just putrid. And I mean, on the positive side, they were really trying to get DJ Moore involved. They were peppering him with targets, and I sort of thought it was like a squeaky wheel game coming from him. But I mean, this week it's sort of different because we got PJ Walker likely to step in. And if you were thinking about dropping DJ Moore, I'm saying just give it one more week. Just give it one more week with PJ Walker. Yeah, it can't be worse than it's been with Baker Mayfield. I mean, this guy, he's played with over 8 different quarterbacks since entering the league, and he's a wide receiver one without the touchdowns. That's really what he's been his whole career. He garners targets. He's a great player, and I mean he did well with PJ Walker last season. So I mean I think that's an optimistic way to spin it. Like I said, I'm the wrong guy to ask because I'll always be positive with DJ Moore. But I mean, there's even trade rumors coming around now too. So I mean, I play in super deep leagues, so I understand if he's dropped in your leagues. I would say pick him up. Just give him one more shot with PJ Walker at least, and if he gets traded, wheels up for DJ Moore. So. But I mean, I won't lie; it's been absolutely disappointing. I mean, if you have him on your team, you shouldn't have been starting him. But yeah, I guess just give it one more week at least.
We'll go to the Panthers fan and ask Shane, what do you think's DJ Moore? What are you doing?
Yeah, I actually agree with Sam. I'm comfortable giving him more than just the 1 week. I think with the coaching regime change, that I'm hoping that this offense has some kind of switch flipped, even with like Cody. I'm probably the only Baker Mayfield truther that's still left out there. But if PJ Walker makes this team better and makes DJ Moore better for fantasy, makes CMC better for fantasy, then leave PJ Walker out there at this point. I think rest of the season, DJ Moore will be fine. I'm hoping that with the coaching regime change, they'll actually get to an offense that if Baker comes back and is the starter, Baker can actually run versus whatever the Matt Rule was running, because I don't think McAdoo, even though I don't think he's going to be a very good offensive coordinator, had much say in play calling and trying to get Baker going and get the offense going and get that offensive line going. So I'm with you, Sam. I'm holding on to DJ Moore for, let's say, 3 weeks, because that's the earliest Baker will be back.
I think you guys need to go take a cold shower and just let the tears out and let it go. Oh. he's at the end of the day. I like DJ Moore too as a player, but the fact of the matter is he's got Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, and PJ Walker as his quarterbacks on the roster. The offensive line is in shambles. Ben McAdoo's the offensive coordinator, and they have a new head coach that just came in. It's in shambles. Like, realistically, this isn't a dynasty conversation. This is a redraft. 1 year, it's over. Sell DJ Moore if you can. Like, I know that the quarterback play has been terrible, but you have to put some of the blame on DJ Moore too. He's got a 46% catch rate. Like, that's abysmal. And do we think PJ Walker, who's a career 55% passer, going to go in and be more accurate than Baker Mayfield?
So
not going to happen. So you guys need to go take a cold shower. So no one sees. No one can see you cry in the shower.
You tell me Sam Darnold came back and he's starting. I'm inserting DJ Moore in every single one of my lineups.
Honestly, that's probably what's going to happen. I think he does come back, because after this week he should be coming back, and that is actually an upgrade for DJ Moore, because we've seen.
I mean, he was I mean, he had the touchdowns early in the season. He was the locked-in wide receiver one. It's him every year of his career. He's a lock for 1,100 yards. And he doesn't get the touchdowns. And at this point, if you can plug in a wide receiver like that, you're okay. But it's not. I mean, this isn't me just being biased. I think he is like an elite wide receiver. His ability to earn targets, and even with PJ Walker, he had over a 22% target share. And yeah, you can talk about the accurate or his catch rate with Baker, but I mean, didn't we just see this with Odell Beckham last year? He was a completely different player when he left Cleveland, and
he never wanted to be in Cleveland. That's another topic for another show, but he never wanted to be in Cleveland. Let's leave it at that.
Could be chasing
Yeah.
fool's gold, boys. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I mean, yeah. No, I don't knock anyone for, even wanting to cut DJ Moore, but I would ride it out a little bit longer, but I can't blame you. I mean, it's been a terrible season, but
It's just one of
yeah.
those years, like, take a cold shower, wash it off, and then come back next season with a proper quarterback. They should be, top 5 in the draft next year. Get yourself a quarterback and take it from there. I think it is what it is with DJ Moore, but we'll see. I do like him as a player, and if Sam Darnold comes back and is a starting quarterback, we could see him get back to not only relevancy but minimum flex play. So we'll see. Time will tell, but you got to hold, and you're like I said about Cam Akers, you might be holding that bag of magic beans, or it could turn into a beanstalk for you. I don't know. We'll see. Let's go to Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm selling him. I'm selling Juju Smith-Schuster. I can't do it with him anymore. I'll take an L on this one because I was pretty high on him in best ball. I have pretty high exposure to him, so it is what it is. I'll take an L on that one. The 13 of the 15 touchdown passes thrown by Patrick Mahomes have gone to tight ends or running backs. Only 2 receptions have come for a touchdown from wide receivers on the Kansas City Chiefs, and one was Justin Watson. So it's clearly not looking.
Mecole? I know that you probably don't know that off the top of your head, but I think the other
Hardman had the other one.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the reality is, like I said, we're almost a third of the way through the season. Patrick Mahomes is not all of a sudden, on this Sunday, going to start peppering Juju with targets. Yeah. It's not going to happen. Like, it is what it is. We know what that offense is right now, and that is what it's going to be for the rest of the season. Extremely efficient. It's very good. You could argue it's the best Chiefs offense in, the last few years, even without Tyreek Hill. Patrick Mahomes leads the league in passing touchdowns. So there you go. I think you could still get some name value out of him. You could throw him in some trades, add a piece added type of a thing. I think he's still got that name recognition that you might be able to get some value in a trade. I said it last week. I think the reality is we got to admit that Juju Smith-Schuster, and I'm talking to pretty much myself and anyone who's a believer before the season, he's just a guy. He's just a guy, and he's going to land somewhere between Cole Beasley and Tyler Lockett as a player, in my opinion. And that's just what we're seeing the past couple of years, and I don't think it's changing. So, Sam, what do you think about Juju Smith-Schuster?
The disrespect to Tyler Lockett, I don't put him in the same realm.
I said Cole Beasley and Tyler Lockett, between those 2 players.
Yeah, put him closer to.
I'm not saying Juju is okay. Tyler Lockett.
All right. Yeah. No, I mean, we've seen what he is in the last 5 weeks. With me, I mean, I told you before, I'm a Pittsburgh fan, so maybe that's why I was sort of biased going into draft season. I mean, I thought Juju was washed, and that's the more concerning thing is the Chiefs' offense is rolling, and why would they change anything else? Juju Smith-Schuster hasn't produced yet. Why would Kansas City want to change what they're doing? When they're 4-1. It's going to be you'd hope this could be a big bounce back game against Buffalo, but I don't really see it happening. MVS looked like the better player on Monday night. And, at least with what was that?
I was going to say, dude, Sam, my family is all Packers fans. I don't know what Patrick Mahomes has done to MVS, but apparently he taught him how to catch because he's made some incredible catches this season. And I'm like, where did that come from?
Yeah, well, speaking of that, I was actually, I was hammering MVS and best ball. But go back to your Packers point, which, I didn't think, I mean, I thought the drops was, I mean, he did have that one bad drop, but it's nothing like it was in Green Bay. Yeah. And that's the one thing was, the pace of play and the plays per game are night and day for what MVS had in Green Bay to Kansas City. And my whole thesis was, he's just going to get more opportunities for those deep shots. And, I think at this point in their career, Mahomes is a better quarterback than Rodgers. But either way, you shouldn't, elevate MVS for getting a quote-unquote quarterback upgrade. Yeah. He's played with Aaron Rodgers. But, he just has more opportunities in this offense to hit the big home run play. And with Juju, you just don't have that. He's pretty much another tight end, and Travis Kelce eats up the intermediate part of the field. So what are you getting with Juju, really? And, he's had exactly 8 targets in 4 out of 5 games. And that's, you tell me a wide receiver on the Kansas City offense getting 8 targets, I'd be pretty invested into that. But, I think he had a 5 for 89-yard game, no touchdown. I think that's a good game for him. So he's just, it's easy. It's even hard to call him a floor option because he had I think it was 3 for 33 last game. So he's on a great offense, but he doesn't have a ceiling. So, I'd be fine if you want to let go of Juju's, but yeah.
Shane, what are you thinking?
Sell, sell, sell. We've seen that offense spread out way too much outside of Kelsey. The only consistent fantasy players for weapons have been Kelsey and CEH is touchdown dependent. So sell, sell, sell. And like you said, rely on that name value, baby.
Yeah, and like I said, it's arguably, better offense than they've had in the past few years. That, Mahomes doesn't feel the need to try to force it to Tyreek, and Tyreek was that speed guy down the field, but they took it away. Every defense was playing shell coverage on the Chiefs, just taking that away. They aren't quite doing that the same because MBS is not he's just as fast, but he's not as dangerous of a receiver as Tyreek. So he's allowed to do that a little more than Tyreek was. So yeah, I think that I think that, like I said, and Sam echoed as well, like nothing's going to change with this offense. We're a third of the way through the season. Nothing's going to change. And there's no floor to Juju. Sorry, there's no ceiling to Juju, and the floor is extremely low. So yeah, rely on that name value, throw him in as a trade piece, and get him off your roster. Last guy, and then we'll touch on 2 super quick, but the last guy we want to dig into is Elijah Moore from the Jets. Sam, what are you thinking about Elijah Moore?
Yeah, this one's sort of tough. It looks like, Elijah Moore might be the third or even, maybe even fourth option if you put Breece Hall in there in that offense. And it's not, he was leading the league in routes run for a while. I think up until last week, actually. And he ended up running less routes than Corey Davis. And I feel like the whole fantasy community at this point wants to make any excuse they can for Elijah Moore to happen. When Joe Flacco was throwing it 50 times a game and Elijah Moore wasn't getting it done then, we wanted to say that even though everyone knew that Elijah Moore was a lot better without Zach Wilson last season, I did a couple research pieces with the whole Jets offense with Mike White, Joe Flacco, and Joe Johnson compared to Zach Wilson, and Elijah Moore took a huge hit. And Corey Davis, he was the other way around with Zach Wilson. He was a lot better. And we're seeing that this season with, Corey Davis, even, which sucks with at least with Joe Flacco, we had Garrett Wilson, but, Zach, it's a whole Jets offense. They don't want Zach Wilson to throw it as much as they did with Flacco. And it happened last season. It's happening this season again. I don't know if they don't trust Zach Wilson. It's hard to take away from the Miami game because they were up so big and Breece Hall was just killing it. So why wouldn't you just keep giving it to Breece? But even Breece Hall, he's a big fat. He's pretty much another wide receiver. You look at air yard share isn't really a stat that we look at running backs, but Breece Hall air yard share, he's running wide receiver routes, and the next closest to him is Samaje Perine. And, he's lapping the field in air yards because he's running wide receiver routes. And I just think Zach Wilson, it's still his second season, but I don't think he's the right quarterback for you to bank on maybe a third, fourth option with Elijah Moore, which sucks. But, when we got to say what it is, it goes, based on the target share, it goes Corey Davis, Garrett Wilson. And then, the first game, Tyler Conklin had more targets.
I was going to say Conklin,
Yeah. Conklin had more targets than Elijah Moore. He did, Conklin goose egged last week, but even then, Elijah Moore couldn't get it going. So, he's a tough one, but I don't think you're really ever going to feel comfortable playing Elijah Moore.
So I'm going to try to flip it and be optimistic here. In fairness to what you're saying earlier, I was not a big Elijah Moore buyer in the offseason and in drafts and in best ball. I don't have a ton of exposure to Elijah Moore. I'm glad you mentioned the air yards for Breece Hall. That was one of the main things I brought up, 2 weeks ago, or whatever it was, Shane, when we had the buy now or forever hold your peace. Breece Hall is one of the guys that I said you got to buy now or else you're never going to get your hands on him. And that was a few weeks ago. So the air yards was a main part of that because he, like you said, he's lapping the field in air yards for a running back, which is pretty rare. So good to see that. But with Elijah Moore, the biggest reason I'm buying low. I'm buying low on Elijah Moore. Number one, it's not going to cost you very much at all. If you don't get him, you don't get him. It is what it is. As far as, the usage and everything like that, I don't love it. I'm not going to lie. I don't love it. But as far as red zone targets and efficiency is concerned, he has 4 less red zone targets than Garrett Wilson, but the same amount of red zone catches as Garrett Wilson. Less touchdowns, obviously, so he's got to get in the end zone and everything like that. I think there's a lot of untapped potential there with Elijah Moore. I think we saw it last year. And in this year, his air yards and ADOT courtesy, I get those stats courtesy FTN. Shout out Sam and FTN. So air yards and ADOT are looking pretty decent for Elijah Moore. So that big play potential is, it can be there. Another big reason I like Elijah Moore, like I said, it's not going to cost you a lot. He's going to sit on your bench, and he could be a bye week replacement throughout the bye week, portion of the season here. And then the biggest thing that I like about him is that I love that Jets playoff schedule for everyone on the Jets. That's one reason I didn't really love Breece Hall a ton in redrafted in best ball, except for I didn't love him, but I had to draft him because of the playoff schedule. So that's something that I like with Elijah Moore. And I wouldn't be saying this if he was in bye weeks 9 or 14, where there's 6 bye weeks. He's in bye week 10. There's the same amount as any other week, four teams on a bye. So I'm going to go ahead and buy low and take a swing on Elijah Moore and hope that he can help me out down, throughout the season. And you're not going to feel the pressure to start him at any point. So that's what I'm thinking about Elijah Moore. Shane, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I honestly don't have much to add. I'm with you guys. I acquired more Garrett Wilson than I did Elijah Moore in the offseason because I trust Garrett Wilson more as a receiver. It's not to say I don't love Elijah Moore. I think he's talented. It's just kind of what Sam said. I think, where does he fit in this offense? How does he fit into this offense? Is there potential for more? Yes, but we haven't seen it yet. So I'm probably holding. I have him in a league, and I'm trying to kind of trade him away as kind of a throw-in piece. But that's because I have insane wide receiver depth in that league.
So that's the scenario that I'm gonna buy on, as a throw-in, as just a guy that's gonna sit on my bench. It's not like, you don't particularly want to drop him, but you don't feel any pressure to start him at any point. But he can chip in on the bye weeks, especially weeks 9 and 14, where there's 6 teams on a bye, and then look at that playoff schedule and hope that you get a couple flex starts in the playoffs when it really matters. So that's what I'm thinking with them. Let's touch on Jamar Chase. You want to touch on him quickly, Shane, before we get to questions? Rico Baptiste, we see your super chat, bro. I appreciate that a ton. You're going to get your question answered first. So
absolutely.
Just stick with us for about 2 minutes.
Thanks, Rico. Yeah. So I put Jamar Chase on kind of our pre-show chat as an option for what do we do with him now, kind of as an underachiever. And the reason I did that is you probably drafted Jamar Chase as a top 3 wide receiver, and he's currently sitting at wide receiver 14. You're not gonna he's a hold for me. You're not gonna sell him unless you get the farm back, and in redraft that's probably harder to do. So I'm holding him. And I think you've just got to be patient. I think, like we've talked about all show, the Bengals offensive line should be better than it has been, but for some reason they're getting their ass handed to them. So I think as they kind of gel because of the new personnel that they did bring in, then Burrow will have more time and Chase will have better games going forward. And it's not like he's had just stinkers. It's just he hasn't been the Jamar Chase where he goes off for 3 touchdowns. So I'm holding him.
Sam, 30 seconds on the clock. What do you think about Jamar Chase?
Yeah, I'm with Shane. I mean, it's 5 games in. He's had a great game, and then he struggled the last game. It's back to the too high deal from last season. I'm not going to go on a tangent there, but he is getting a lot more double team, and he spoke about it in a press conference. And I think having Higgins back is going to be a lot better. And I'm not counting him out yet. So.
Yeah, I'm certainly holding Chase. I love Chase. Obviously, I'm a Bengals fan, so I'm a little skewed, but Jamar Chase is the real deal, and he has been double, triple covered. Double covered with a shell usually. So it's pretty tough to get open and get targets when that's the case. So it is what it is. That means you're one of the best wide receivers in the game when you're getting that kind of respect. So
absolutely,
it's kind of a good thing at the end of the day. Darnell Mooney quickly. I'm loving Darnell Mooney tomorrow night. William Jackson III is out as well. And, he was a starter. He was no good, but he was a starter on that Washington secondary. So I think we're going to see a 50-plus yard touchdown from Darnell Mooney. I got him in my captain spot in my single entry, DFS lineup. I'm going to take a swing on that big play and hope it works out for me. Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the last 2 weeks have been real encouraging for Darnell Mooney. And I mean, the whole the Bears passing offense, I mean, it looks like they're finally, I don't know if it's Justin Fields or the coaching staff, but it looks like they're finally comfortable letting him air it out. And yeah, I mean, there's no one on that depth chart to compete with Mooney. So yeah, it looked bleak the first 3 weeks or so, but it kind of looked somewhat fluky 2 weeks ago. He had that deep bomb that sort of boasted his box score. But I mean, this is the second week in a row. It looks like, I mean, if they're gonna let Justin Fields pass it, I'm way more optimistic about Darnell Mooney from the last 2 weeks. So yeah.
Yeah, I also bet the over 170 and a half yards for Justin Fields and over 42 and a half for Darnell Mooney, something like that. So
yeah, I'm
we'll see how that
both
goes.
of those.
And the 0.5 touchdowns for Justin Fields. So 1 touchdown, 180 yards, and Darnell Mooney has a big touchdown. I'm laughing. Shane, anything quick?
Yeah, no, I'm buying. I agree with both of you guys. Darnell Mooney to me is one of the best route runners in the league. And as he continues to get open, I think, and Fields gets more comfortable, the coaching staff hopefully gets more comfortable with him. Darnell Mooney will continue to rise like we expected at the beginning of the season. So,
all right, chat time. Let's get to these questions. Rico Baptiste, appreciate your super chat, bro. We really appreciate that. It means you get your question answered first and foremost. He asks, missed out on Walker, but I kept Hall, Pierce, J.K. Dobbins, ETN, and B-Rob. Was that a good decision? Well, did you miss out on Walker because you didn't want to spend the fab, or you didn't have the fab?
Or you didn't want to drop them?
If I would have got Walker, 2 would have been dropped because of B-Rob on the IR. I thought, yep, that's why. Okay. 4 RB limit. You need to talk to your commission and get that.
Yeah, what
changed.
are you doing there? How do you get a 0 RB when you can only keep 4 RBs on your team?
Rico, talk to your commission. Minimum, if you're going to put a cap on it, 6. Absolute minimum.
Agreed.
I
still think it's a good decision.
Yeah, I'm all right with that. With Breeze Hall kind of taking over, I've been a Damian Pierce truther since kind of day one. J.K. Dobbins is getting healthy, looking good. ETN, I know Shane's pretty high on him. I don't know about that, but
increased snap share every week.
Brian Robinson is my guy as well. Sam, what are you thinking?
I don't know. I guess I'd ask you, who would you say are the 2 worst running backs here? I would think maybe B-Rob, ETN out of this group. What do you guys think?
I'd probably say JK as far as the points production. I'd have to kind of see it before I'm going to put him above
fair point.
Even ETN at this point. And Brian Robinson, I'm just too in love with as a player, to be honest. He's by far, I've said it multiple times, by far my highest owned player on Best Ball. So I'm pretty invested in Brian Robinson.
Yeah,
I'm not dropping any of these guys, though.
No, yeah, 100%. I was thinking, I mean, if you thought of it in a trade perspective, I think JK and ETN are about the same. I think B-Rob is probably the last in this group just because he's always going to be the guy in a 3-way committee. And then Dobbins is a lead back, and it's also going to be a split. And ETN is trending towards a lead back, so I don't care how you rank them. But if you were to trade either ETN or JK Dobbins and B-Rob for Ken, I think I would take the Ken side. So I guess by that logic, I would have picked up Ken and dropped those 2, B-Rob and whoever your choice is. So
yeah,
I
honestly can't fault you for that either. Like it's one of those things where, to be honest, Rico, you'd be damned if you do and damned if you don't, and you won't know for 6 weeks if you made the right decision. So, I'm okay either way, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, did you make a good decision? Maybe. Like I said, we won't know for 6 to 8 weeks if you did or not. So I think, like, if you stuck to your guns and that's what you wanted to do, then stick to it. And there's no real need to justify it to anybody. I think, like I said, damned if you do, damned if you don't, and you won't know for 8 weeks. So, you're at the end of the day, you made your decision and you're forced to ride it out. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with staying pat and leaving Kenny Walker out there. He's been a little banged up. He's got a shoulder issue, but he does take over a very nice running back situation. And I had Kenny Walker as my RB1 in this draft class over Breece Hall.
I knew I liked you.
So I like Kenny Walker a ton. And I'm okay with either way, to be honest with you. I'm really, really okay with either way. I couldn't fault you for dropping Brian Robinson, and ETN is probably what I would do as well.
Yeah.
For Kenny Walker, but
yeah, we're all speculating and we have no idea.
I mean, gun to my head, if you made me drop one of those 4 with B-Rob, I'd probably go Dobbins just because I'm in love with ETN and I just think he's got too much in the tank for the rest of the season. I'm probably the odd man out here, but I'd also be comfortable dropping Pierce just because I love J.K. Dobbins and ETN.
He's like 6th in the league in rushing right now.
Yeah, but he's on a bad team.
Don't try to slander Dameon Pierce with me around.
I've
been defending Dameon Pierce since '98, man.
Yeah, that dude is legit. I mean, did you see those highlights last weekend?
Yeah,
dude, he's
a real deal.
I said, I think this was before the season, Shane, on this show.
Yeah.
I said Dameon Pierce reminds me of Ezekiel Elliott when he was a rookie. Okay. And does anyone else see that? Am I blind, or that's what I see? Power back. You can't bring this guy down with arm tackles. That's for damn sure.
No, he's a dog for sure.
So yeah, none of that slander, Shane. I won't stand for it. Jacob Glazer asks, I have Josh Allen on a bye week next week. Should I stash Geno, Tua, or Dak? Yeah, any of the 3, really.
I'm going Geno just because of health.
Whoever's got the best matchup.
Yeah,
that's it. Because you
can
drop
for me
whoever.
Is like Tua and Dak are not guaranteed to play at this point. So Geno isn't either. Geno could get a concussion this week too, but Geno's looked the best because he's been playing. So
if those 3 are available, just don't stash any of them. Pick up a running back and just pick them up next week. You probably don't have to worry about stashing any of them. So.
Yeah, Jacob, if that's what you're asking, don't stash any. Just pick them up next week and then drop them the week after Josh Allen's bye is done, because you're never going to not start them. You're not going to have to worry about quarterback. So stream it. Mark Grefford, should I trade away Debo?
No.
I'm not.
I don't even love Debo, and I'm not trading him.
Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I would trade Debo, but I guess it depends on what kind of return would you expect. I mean,
if you get a Godfather offer,
because I mean, I'm comfortable with Debo, but I wouldn't mind testing out the waters, because I don't know, his usage is a bit concerning. It's kind of what we feared, where if he doesn't score the rushing touchdown, he doesn't get the targets, especially in PPR. He's kind of, I mean, you're relying on the big play upside, but maybe I'm going on a tangent, but I would see what kind of offer you could get for Debo. Like maybe what if you could get like an AJ Brown plus after that dud, So I think it's worth testing out the market. So
I was looking at that name too. If you can get AJ Brown plus, yeah, sure. AJ Brown plus Brian Robinson.
Yeah, exactly.
Kenny Walker. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean ETN. I mean we like the ETN usage. People look at the box score. AJ Brown, ETN. See what you can get.
Yeah, if I'm getting a similar player to Debo, which AJ Brown, you got to say is similar. And a running back piece, a flex piece, then yeah, I would do that. But I'm not like looking to trade away Debo Samuel if unless I need the depth or something like that, or I can improve, right? If you can improve, then sure. But we're spending probably too much time on that comment. Jacob again, 10-man half PPR. Should I drop Khalil Herbert Thursday to stash Jalen Warren?
No.
I think we'd agree. No. Yeah.
No, it's
It's a handcuff for a handcuff, but the handcuff I know can play in the NFL is Khalil Herbert.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and the Pittsburgh offensive line is hot garbage.
Plus, Najee Harris is pretty indestructible, it seems, at this point. Like the
Yeah.
guy like destroyed his ankle or whatever it was in week 2 and then just played the next week like it's no big deal. And David Montgomery's missed some time relatively often. So yeah, no, I'm keeping Khalil Herbert. I think we're in agreement there. Michael Alexander, is Dalton Schultz a drop? Looks like he's probably going on for some weeks. Sam, what do you think about Dalton Schultz?
I have in the FFPC main events, I have a Dalton Schultz team. I've been rolling out Taysom Hill, so it's fine. But I'm holding on to him, and it depends on your bench size. And we have pretty deep benches. But if you can't hold him, then it's fine dropping him. Maybe if you got it, maybe Njoku went undrafted and you got him. If you have a tight end you're comfortable with, I'm fine dropping him. But yeah, it depends on your league size. So.
Yeah, I have him on a team too. I'm keeping Dalton Schultz. I know what he can do, and with Dak Prescott coming back, I think that he can certainly get back to where he was for sure. And then all you do, if he doesn't play, throw him on your IR, pick up a tight end, start him for the week. Bingo, bango, bongo. Shane, anything to add there?
No, just that his splits with Dak and without Dak, even this, like obviously this season's an outlier, but with Dak, he's incredibly better. So
and he practiced limited this week or today, so he could be back this week. If not, he's going to get healthy. He'll get right, and they'll get it figured out. I still like Dalton Schultz in that like tier 2-3 tight end coming into the season, and I still have him there. So I'd ride or die with him. Chargers, Bengals, or Rams defense?
Rams,
pretty much for sure against Carolina.
Yeah, you gotta go Rams.
Denver and Saints. Yeah. Even if Jameis isn't playing for the Saints, I'd still be taking the Rams, and it's not close. I think we're all
not close at all. Aaron Donald is going to give PJ Walker nightmares for probably the rest of his life.
Yeah. Donald DNP today though.
Yeah, and Cooper Kupp and Cooper Kupp. But we'll see. They'll be there. They're gamers.
They'll be fine.
Rest of the season, half PPR, Jeff Wilson or James Robinson. It's closer than you think. It's right this second. It's Jeff Wilson, but in about 3, 4, or 5 weeks,
Elijah Mitchell comes back.
Yeah, I guess it depends. Like, is this going to be your starting RB2? Is this a flex guy? I mean, I don't know if he's gonna
just in a vacuum,
but I mean, I guess like, I don't know if James Robinson has, because if Jeff Wilson carved out I'm just gonna say Jeff Wilson. I think he can win you some weeks, and he might have the same split as James Robinson with Mitchell back. So I'll say Wilson.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Agree. Shane, what do you think?
I'm going Wilson. Running backs in San Fran for some reason just continue to get hurt. So even if, especially Mitchell, like if Mitchell comes back, he'll probably get hurt again. So Jeff Wilson.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. I think, Elijah Mitchell's shown himself to be a little too fragile. So I'd probably go Jeff Wilson too at the moment. Hindsight is what it is. We won't know if we're wrong in 6 weeks. It is what it is. So
also, can we just shout out that this is Jake from State Farm?
Yeah, what's up, Jake? You guys need that State Farm discounts or what?
Yankees?
I don't have, or do I have State Farm up here? I might. I don't know. Should I trade Sutton for AJ Brown straight up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Smash that.
If you can do that straight up, yeah, definitely. Yeah,
100%.
Hey, I'm 0-5 with Herbie Cook, Aaron Jones, Amon-Ra, Jamar Chase. Okay, Andrews and Ridley traded for Waddle for flex. Who should I trade in for who? I also have Kenny Walker, Jacobs, Hawkinson on bench.
Who are you?
How are you?
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah.
This is loaded.
Is this like a super flex league and that's your only quarterback or what? I don't know, because you got a good team.
Shit.
I
would trade.
You must have the worst luck on the planet.
I'm guessing that's Dalvin Cook. So I'm trading Dalvin Cook and TJ Hawkinson. But for who, I have no idea. I mean, that could yield you a very good wide receiver.
I mean, try to go after like Saquon.
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook, Jacobs, and Hawkinson. I don't care. You got so much depth.
Seriously, how the hell are you 0-5?
Cook, Kenny Walker, and Hawkinson for Saquon. Something like that.
Yeah.
Like, get yourself a very high floor and high ceiling, top of the line running back is what I'm looking to do. You got 3 quality wide receivers in the Sun God, Chase and Waddle. So that's what I do.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
Try to trade Aaron Jones. Yeah. 4.
Next
There
question is
you go.
Kobe Brown.
Trade code. Kobe Brown. Thoughts on Hopkins? Will he be playable or should I try to trade him? I have Diggs, Chase, Kirk as my top 3 right now. Shane, what are you doing with Nuke?
I am. This is going to be a do as I say, not as I do situation, because in the league that I have, or in one league I have him, I'm trying to trade him away, but that's because I need to upgrade at running back. I think he'll be playable. You've talked about him earlier, this season, Cody, that he's still a top 5 NFL receiver. I think the talent is still there when he's healthy, and Kyler loves him. So I would definitely play him. For this team, though, he's probably a flex, which is freaking awesome. Or, sorry, Cody, you could bump him into your 3rd wide receiver, bump Kirk down to flex. But with the way Kirk's playing, like, who gives a shit? Just play your best players, and I think Hopkins will be fine.
Sam, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can roll him out as soon as he's active. I don't know if you guys saw that video that he posted. He said, counting down the days to take myself off my fantasy bench and put me in the lineup. I'd be doing the same right now. So,
yeah, Nuke Hopkins is one of my favorite wide receivers in the NFL, has been for a long time. He's that guy. He's one of the best in the league still until he's not. And I haven't seen him not yet when he's healthy. So I'm rolling out Nuke Hopkins. I'm trading for him if someone will trade him to me, especially right now, right before he comes back. I'm absolutely trying to pick up as many Nuke Hopkins shares as I can. I own him quite a bit in best ball because, if he played the whole season, he's going top 20, right? So I'm absolutely going to be all over Hopkins. And I wouldn't try to trade him. I would just have Kirk as my flex. Like, you can avoid those stinker games that you got out of Kirk. He's going to have a couple throughout the season. Kirk's not going to be, I picked him to be a top 15 wide receiver. But we'll see. Sam just dropped off. Not sure where he's at, but
Sam had to go get a charger.
Oh, his private chat probably. Hey, cool.
Yeah.
Never look at that. Let's move on. Rate the team. Isaac Pekka. Rate the team. Quarterback Cousins. RBs. Lenny,
RB.
Brees, Dylan, Madison, Rashad White, Keenan, Deontay. I have Kelsey. Any tradeaways? It's a good team.
I give you a B-.
I mean, it's not. It depends on how many teams. Actually, if it's 12 team, it's not the greatest team. If I'm being honest, I think you're probably not a winning team right now.
Yeah.
So if you're hurting, did he comment again? No. If you're hurting to win some games, it might be time to trade away Kelsey. If you're sitting there at 1-4 or something like that. Actually, not Kelsey. Man.
No, I'm
can.
I'm pairing a couple of these wide receivers and improving my running back room if I'm this guy. Cousins is fine at quarterback, but
the problem is there's no depth here anywhere.
Not a wide receiver. You got Keenan, Deontay, Amari, and Bateman.
I think the running backs are fine. I mean, Lenny and Brees are fine.
They're fine, but there's not much depth after. That's what I'm saying. There's not a lot of depth anywhere.
Yeah.
There's three running backs and 3 wide receivers. You have a middle of the pack quarterback and the best tight end. So there's not a lot of depth. It's pretty tough to trade away 2 pieces for 1. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially because this is probably a losing team. So I don't know. It might be time to cut bait with Kelsey if you're 1-4, 0-5, which this team probably is. It might be all you got. Get Zach Ertz back, Dallas Goedert back that have that 10-point floor, and then get yourself another quality player or upgrade, package Kelsey and one of your 3 wide receivers and 3 running backs for Ertz or Goddard, those 2 specifically, and a major upgrade at either wide receiver or running back. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. If you're a losing team, which I would assume you are, because this is not,
Yeah, I mean, it depends where you're at because you might be getting Keenan back. I think Deontay is going to be fine rest of the season Bateman might miss. Rondo's finally back. It depends where you are. I mean, if you're, 0-5, you got to make some moves. If you're 3-2, your team's gonna look better this week. So it depends where you're at right now.
Yeah, if you're 3-2, sure, you can make different decisions. What I'm saying is if you're 1-4 or 0-5, which I think is possible with this squad, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking. You take a look at there, Isaac. Natty, Curtis Samuel, or Jacoby Myers for my flex. Shane, what are you thinking?
I'm going Myers this week, I think.
Yeah, I think I'd go Myers too, but I do like Samuel still. But
yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Who's doing them playing?
Jeez. Cleveland, I think.
Yeah, it's Cleveland.
Ooh, yeah. I'm taking Jacoby. That's been a pretty juicy matchup for everyone this year so far. Carolina pick up Cooper Rush for you. Yeah, cool. Sorry.
I don't know. Matt Rule's gone. I don't know if they're still about that. So
yeah, Cooper Rush. I mean, he's just been a bit of a system quarterback. He knows the system and everything like that.
Next one is 3 comments down for
Pierce over B-Rob. Yeah, for now.
Question
for you guys. Cameron C. Question for you guys. PPR league. A guy wants to trade me Dalvin Cook for Tony Pollard and Godwin. Should I do it? I need a receiver. Thanks. What do you think, Sam?
I'm fine taking the Pollard Godwin side, honestly.
What do you think, Shane?
I am too, but I would want more.
Yeah, I think you can. You should definitely try to get more.
Yeah.
But I'm really high on Godwin for the rest of the season.
I am too.
So
I'd probably take that trade right as it sits. Okay. Like I think I would take that trade, but if you could get more, cool, get more. If you could, it's always, if you always got to throw a counter, right? If you can get more, get more. But
I mean, Cook,
I would take that trade. Like Cook is gonna miss some games. He hasn't missed a game yet, but he will. He will miss a game.
Cook really is a sell high for me right now. Easy.
Oh yeah, I was just about to say that he luck boxed into those touchdowns. He's actually getting spelled a lot more for Madison. I mean, if he didn't have those
Madison had his most snaps last game.
The matchup called for him to get at least a touchdown last week. For sure.
I mean, they should have been Jefferson's, to be honest, too. So he really did get lucky, but yeah.
He was a kind of bust candidate for me this year, Dalvin Cook. So yeah, it's looking good for me so far.
Yes, sir.
Nady, Goff or Russell Wilson rest of the season? That's a good question. Actually, it's crazy that it is, but in a vacuum,
I'm going Wilson.
I'm taking Russell Wilson. Yeah, I can't not
I'm
taking earlier Wilson. In show.
It would be, but I mean. I don't like having 2 QBs, but this might be a situation where, if Goff is a waiver wire guy and you want to do the matchup game, because
I don't hate that.
Yeah. Cameron C, this is the add on to that Dalvin Cook, Pollard. I have Aaron Jones, Cook, Stevenson, and Edmonds. That's sweet, but I'm making that the reality is, like Sam said, I'm making that deal for Godwin.
Yeah.
More than anything.
I'm more comfortable with that deal then.
Way more comfortable.
Rodriguez, Yosu, Rodriguez, JT, and St. Brown for Monty, Hollywood, Gabe Davis, and Njoku.
This is the JT side for me. Easy.
I don't know, man.
There's no way he doesn't have a starting lineup. I mean, if you're planning on starting all of those guys, you could go, but I feel like 9 times out of 10, you probably have a good enough team where you're losing out more with the JT and St. Brown side. But I don't know for sure.
I agree with that because I was just going to say, like, who you dropping to make this trade.
Yeah.
Because you got to drop 2 guys to make this trade, obviously. So if you're really hurting for tight end, maybe you make this deal and you don't have a tight end. You're just going to drop the guy you have. And something like JT, I don't know. I'm a little nervous about him. His health, like how do you go? It just doesn't add up that you go from like potentially missing the entire season, then missing a few weeks, then you're playing that next game. Yeah. Like it just doesn't make sense. And then he's sitting out practice. Like it just give us a timeline here. Like that's what I'm a little bit annoyed with, really. with the whole JT situation is there's no friggin' timeline, and it's been so, the timeline has fluctuated so wildly that it's just like, it's annoying. So it's tough to answer this really because I don't know what the timeline is. If he is out for the next 8 weeks, yeah, smash accept. If he's
Yeah.
back in
A
2,
week. Yeah.
that changes everything. So I don't know. Yeah, I can make a case either way to do this, but in a vacuum, if JT is back in relative short amount of time, then I want the JT side. If he ends up missing 8 weeks, and again, it's another one of those things we might not know for 8 weeks. But sorry, I'm just pissed off about this whole JT situation. It's driving me nuts. Like, what's he doing? Is he playing? Is he hurt?
Speaking of off-season victories in best ball, I have 2% of JT because I never drafted CMC or JT because I always had Cup and Jefferson 1 and 2. So I have like 24% of both of them and none of JT or CMC. So
Wow.
Good on you. I drafted both of them, but I only got those picks so much, so less than 10% on both. But it wasn't because, if I had first overall, I was picking JT. So I'll admit that. Flex, I have Chubb and Brees Hall.
Seabow is the next question.
Boom. Seabow 1129. Should I trade Aaron Jones for Waddle and Najee? Full PPR.
Yes.
I have CMC, Breeze, Pierce, ETN. Yeah, I would do that.
That's a smash.
Yeah,
for
I
me.
mean, yeah, you got your running backs covered. Yeah, I mean, I still like buying low on Aaron Jones, but you have too many running backs where it doesn't matter if you get rid of them. But
And the fact of the matter with Aaron Jones is he's still in a timeshare. It's still split.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but I mean, he's almost making AJ Dillon irrelevant at this point. I mean, his snap share keeps rising, so
I love AJ Dillon, so that's blasphemy for me.
I do too. I do too, but I mean, it's pretty. I mean, you can't even comfortably roll out AJ Dillon as an RB2 anymore. So
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, things can change quickly there. I like AJ Dillon a lot. I'm sticking to my one of my hot takes was he outscores Aaron Jones this year.
no, I
We'll
love
see.
Dillon too. I like him a lot too, for sure.
Nady again, 10 team PPR, Kyler Cup, blah, blah, blah. Somehow I'm unfortunately 0-5, fifth most points. Oh man, that's the worst luck I've ever heard. Fifth most points, you're 0-5. Like every week you're playing the top scorer or what?
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay, it is what it is, man. What are you gonna do? Look to
With the Cooper Cup team, ouch.
yeah, Godwin I like, Judy, Curtis Samuel, Jacoby. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it's a nice team for sure. I
you
mean, the
could
good thing about
go ahead.
I was saying the good thing about this team is like it's definitely on the up and up with all these guys. ETN, Swift will be back, Brees Hall smashing, Godwin's finally getting healthier. So, I mean, you can make a big run at the end for sure.
Yeah, stick with it. Stick with it. Yeah. Seth Mowry got offered Gallup for Wilson Jr. Thoughts?
I'm keeping Jeff.
I'm keeping Jeff Wilson because we say it all the time. The fact is, running backs are more valuable than wide receivers.
Yeah, you still got a couple good weeks. I mean, Gallup is like maybe a flex still. So,
yeah. What do you think, Shane?
I'm going to be controversial here and go Gallup. I think he'll be better when Dak's back.
I get that.
You could be wrong. You could be right. He scored a touchdown.
I could very easily be wrong.
didn't he get a touchdown last week?
Yeah, I think he did.
So, yeah, you could be right. I got offered. That's such a like whatever trade. Why even make it? You know?
Okay.
Yeah,
like, why move lateral
what do you
like
need?
that? Like why I always say it. We always say it on the show. Like, don't move laterally in a trade. There's no point. You're just gonna be damned if you do, damned if you don't. You know, either make a big trade, plan to lose, or know you're winning. I'm okay if you lose a trade, knowing you're losing a trade. If you're okay and you're happy to lose the trade to get the best player, whatever you're doing, do that. But these lateral trades just don't make sense, you know. And
I'm just thinking about some of my leagues where I'm rolling out fucking Mike Boone. So, I love me some
Yeah,
Jeff
right?
Wilson. So, like,
Yeah.
so maybe I'm just seeing it a little differently. But yeah, if you don't need a running back, it's whatever.
Yeah, like I said, running backs are more valuable, always. Always have been, always will be. This guy's 2 and 3. I still think potentially trade Kelsey. You need some wins, but it's up to you. That's kind of the threshold.
Next one is
Okay.
Damon Pacelli, I think.
The Joker. For flex full PPR, David Montgomery or Jeff Wilson Jr. I have Ramondre in my RB1. Yeah, Ramondre's RB1 for sure. This week,
Monty. No, who do the Niners have?
Atlanta.
Oh, I take that back, Jeff Wilson.
I want to throw a little caveat in here, and this is just a call. This is a Craig Reith call from week 1 when he called the Seahawks beating the Denver Broncos. I think the Falcons beat the Niners this week.
Okay.
It's a Tevin Coleman revenge game, though. So.
Potentially that, but also the Niners they went to Carolina, back to Atlanta.
Oh, no,
a
they
lot
didn't.
of travel. That's a lot of travel. Atlanta should have had at least an opportunity to win that game last week against the Bucs. Obviously, that Grady Jarrett roughing the passer was some absolute hogwash. They're going to be salty. So I'm taking it's like 3-1 at home for the Falcons to beat the Niners. If it happens, we're clipping this, Shane, and if it doesn't, we'll just forget it ever happened.
Okay. I'll message Rick right now.
Yeah, I think the Niners are going to boat race them, but
we'll see. We'll see. It's my upset pick of the week. I'm taking the Falcons at home. Should I stick B-Rob in my RB2 spot and flex JT in case he doesn't play? Yeah, absolutely. That's just like a little bit of fantasy football 101. Like if you know a guy's going to play and you're not sure if a guy's going to have it in the flex so you can move it around for a wide receiver, tight end if you had to, type of thing. Absolutely. What do you guys think?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like fantasy football 101, type stuff. If you know a guy's playing, you want the guy that may or may not play in your flex because you can move that around.
I just don't still feel comfortable starting B-Rob. I wonder if that's the best option he has.
Well,
but if
your boy DJ Moore,
that's that's what I'm saying. I think I would still play Moore over B-Rob, but I mean, if you don't have a RB2 to fill in if JT doesn't play,
yeah,
that's it, right? So
yeah,
I think you got to do it.
So yeah, if that's the best you got to do it.
I don't play any leagues with defense special teams, so maybe you guys can help on this. Should I hang on to the Eagles defense next week during their bye? I have 3 players out next week. Not a fan of having 2 defenses. I never have, but it's tough if they're a high scoring defense. I don't have any leagues like that though. So if you guys do, what do you think?
God, this is hard. I'm going to hold on to him, and that really freaking sucks. But it's 1 week. You can afford to have 2 defenses for that 1 week. And then after that, cut your second defense because the Eagles defense is freaking solid. They're going to be probably finished the number 1 defense this year, I think, with the way that they're playing. Like, it sucks, but I'm holding them.
I mean, I can't give you an answer unless I know who you're dropping. End of the day, you can't drop anyone that shouldn't be on waivers. So
yeah,
it's defense is defense. So yeah.
Yeah, in a vacuum, I'm probably keeping the Eagles defense. But again, if you're dropping someone with some value, like you have to drop like, I don't know, Kenny Walker or Brian Robinson or something, I'm probably not doing that. But all my leagues are IDP, so I don't have any of those.
Cody, check the private chat when you get a second.
Javon Whitaker, PPR. Let's blow through these quickly here. Who should I start this week? It's a lot to unpack there. Probably Packers defense.
Mm-hmm. Packers D. JT and Hall if JT's healthy. If not, go Dobbins. CD.
I'm going Cousins over Russ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Breeze, CD, McLaurin, probably.
McLaurin over Sutton.
Yeah, probably.
I think I'd go Sutton, but
Well, so
Yeah.
here's the real question: are you going DJ Moore or Taysom Hill or Sutton at flex?
I'm going Sutton for sure.
Yeah, I'm going Sutton for sure. I'm not.
Yeah, I am too. So it's basically JT Hall, CD Sutton, Pitts, McLaurin, and then if JT doesn't play, Dobbins, and you're sticking Cousins over Russ.
And Cousins and Packers D.
Yep.
Should I trade Amon-Ra, Pearson, Godwin for Stephon Diggs, Najee, and Warren?
I wouldn't. That's too much.
I'm sticking with the Pierce, Godwin, Amon-Ra side personally.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Don't see a question there.
Me either.
Who's better?
Assuming Godwin
And Miles Sanders or Kamara and Moore? DJ Moore?
Ooh.
Kamara?
Ooh, that's tough.
That's tough, but like, call it like I see it. I got to go with Godwin and Miles Sanders right now.
I agree.
It's tough to sell that low, it seems, on Kamara, but
And
yeah.
DJ Moore.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Godwin and
I
Miles
think-
Sanders.
No, I agree with you.
I'm gonna go Kamara and DJ Moore.
DJ Moore love shines through. 10.5 PPR. Is it time to stash Jameson Williams? I mean, if you still got an IR spot, you could fit on them, for until he's back. Then yeah, of course. But if you don't, and he's got to sit on your bench in 10-man, I'm waiting. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm with
Completely
it for sure.
Completely agree.
Someone in my league dropped Gallup. Should I drop Warren for him? I have Najee, Dak, and Lamb. What are you guys thinking?
Like I said, it depends on your league. Because for me, like I know the receivers that I'm starting every week, so I could, I could use some handcuffs. So yeah, I mean, if you need some depth, then yeah, I mean, in a vacuum, Gallup's better for sure. So
Yeah, I'm going in a vacuum. I'm going Gallup.
Yeah, I'm taking Gallup over Warren, no question. One can provide value, one can't.
Yeah.
I get that you have Najee, but
I didn't even see you have Najee. Yeah, you don't want your own handcuffs anyways. So,
yeah. Running back, is there a question you recommend me doing? Running backs are those guys. Kittle, do you recommend me doing? It's a lot to unpack on things like this.
I mean,
Looks like you could use some wide receiver depth, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're flexing
Kittle on name value to improve your wide receiver and get a tight end like Gerald Everett, Hayden Hurst, something like that back.
Sure.
Yeah, because those are some great running backs too. So
Yeah. I don't know if you need to tinker either at all. I mean, if you have some other throw-in type guys, you could maybe try to trade Isaiah McKenzie, but you're not getting enough value for what his true value is. So
actually, I'm pretty. I mean, for all we know, McKenzie could be the full slot time player. So you might be just completely fine. So
yeah, like the only guy I'm trading is Isaiah McKenzie, and you're not getting enough value back for what his actual value is. So yeah,
looks like that wraps it up.
That's pretty much it. I'm 0-5. Yeah, man. I had Javonte and Trey Lance on 2 teams. So it's pretty rugged on those 2 teams, but it is what it is. That looks like it's it though, man. Sam, appreciate you coming on. I really appreciate you showing up and showing out for the channel. Once again, let the people know who you are, where you're from, where they can find your stuff.
Yeah, all my content throughout the week will be on FTN. I'll be doing a live stream every Sunday morning with another Millie Maker 2-gun. But you can read the content and articles at FTN, Twitter at SC_FFB, and I
can vouch for the content, can vouch for the Twitter follow, and definitely had a good week last week. So follow the DFS content. And no, he's not the clear backup. It's a timeshare regardless if CH goes down. Thanks, Nady. Appreciate it, man. Shane, you got anything for the peeps before we go?
Hit that Discord link.
I was going to go through all that.
Like and subscribe on our YouTube page. Follow my awesome co-host Cody at Off the Schneid and follow me at FF Shane B. Thanks for watching Fantasy Inferno.
Yeah, appreciate it. Hit that like and subscribe on your way out. Like Shane said, we got some other shows. Tuesday's the Dynasty show. We've got the Start Sit Sunday morning. That's a great one to be there for. They do some DFS stuff as well. If you have questions there, join the Discord. You can find me and Shane in there. Hit us up, on Twitter as well. DMs, just at me on Discord if you want.
Yes,
me,
please
if you want to chat with me, because it's hard to see everything in there. It's pretty bump in place. So, appreciate you coming on again, Sam. We'll talk to you guys next week.